wide, 1 block deep, 25 stories tall. Lost its title of being world's largest in 1943 with the opening of the Pentagon. It's almost like you all should have taken the tour yesterday when it was 82 degrees out. So the Riverwalk expansion was completed late last fall. You can now walk from Lake Street to Lake Michigan along the river's edge here uninterrupted. Every section of Riverwalk in between a bridge is a room, and every room has its own theme. Now, one thing I really haven't pointed out at this junction here is how River Point to our left with its bold front curve is kind of mimicking the building directly here to our right, which I'm about to talk about right now. We in fact have 3 buildings side by side here, which all have one thing in common, and that one thing, all 3 of them were designed by the same architecture firm over 20 years, Cone, Pedersen, and Fox of New York. Same firm that did the tall pink building with the barrels on top in front of Sears. Now, because of time, I'm only going to focus on the one dead center to our right, which at one point was voted the city's most favorite and beautiful building. 333 West Wacker from 1983, making it the oldest of these 3. You have the graceful curve in the facade, you have the bend in the river from the main branch to the south branch. You have the 2-tone green glass, you have the green water of the river where it mixes right here at Wolf Point. The circular formations are vents. Instead of putting all the mechanical on top, a lot of it was brought down to the 2nd floor to bump the offices above the noise of the L. And the roadway here to our right, this is one of the first bi-level roadways to be built anywhere in the world, Wacker Drive, named for Charles Wacker, the first head of the Chicago Plan Commission. Now, the lower level was originally and initially intended for trucks, so you can load and unload all your goods to the buildings along the roadway. That's what the ugly stuff is down there, like loading bays and garbage pickup. Upper level, cars and pedestrians. Some of the car chase scenes, though, from The Dark Knight and the Blues Brothers take place on Lower Wacker. If you've never seen the Blues Brothers, you're missing a lot in life. It's a great classic, and if you've never seen that movie, I highly recommend that you do so, because it's hilarious, even 37 years later. But in this area, this is normally where I like to talk about some of the TV shows and movies that have been made in Chicago over the years, especially in my lifetime. Like one of my favorites is The Fugitive with Harrison Ford from 1993. Also in the mid-1990s, you're going to have Backdraft. You had Candyman. I hated that movie. You have My Best Friend's Wedding, but I don't really talk about that. They took a different boat tour company. 1990, you had Home Alone, but that's mostly in the northern suburbs. Yes, I have been past that house. Yes, the address is what they say in the movie. 671 Lincoln Boulevard, Upper Winnetka. 30 years ago, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Also in the mid-1980s, going to have scenes from Adventures in Babysitting. Chucky, the first Child's Play, was made here in Chicago. More recently, though, you're going to have TV shows like Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, Chicago Med, Chicago Justice, are all filmed right here. Here to our right, 1 building, 2 phases, 60 years apart. The third on the right with the bay windows is postmodern, 87, Skidmore. 2/3 on the left, all the ornamentation, and the beautiful columns on top, is neoclassical, 1927, Graham Anderson, Probst and White. We have the lovely Art Deco LaSalle Wacker building here at the corner from 1930 by Halliburton Root versus the contemporary slice minimalist tower of 111 West Wacker from 2015, a rental high-rise. So you have 2015 versus 1930 side by side. Now certainly, not to put a damper on anyone's spirits, but the worst disaster to ever happen in Chicago in terms of loss of life happened directly here to our right on the river. July 24th, 1915. It's called the Eastland disaster, E-A-S-T-L-A-N-D. Before you had a Wacker Drive, before any of these buildings were here, you had South Water Street. It was a market. The river was lined with wharves, piers, and docks. The excursion boat Eastland was moored up to our right. It was going to take 2,500 people to Michigan City for the annual picnic. The boat always had balance and ballast tank problems. They added extra lifeboats on top. It was 3 years after Titanic. They were at capacity. It was top heavy and unstable. The boat rolled over onto its side right here in the Chicago River, killing 844 people. 25 whole families lost their lives. Again, July 24th, 1915. Here to our right, with the pediments above the doorway, as well as the very top of the building, reminds you of a Greek temple or a government building. Postmodern from 1992. 77 West Wacker, designed by Ricardo Bofill of Spain and James DeStefano of Chicago, clad with an abundance of white Portuguese granite. You step down one to the brutalist and somewhat stubby 55 West Wacker from 1968. Listen, a giant pound sign or hashtag on your telephone. It was originally home to Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Illinois. They were only in there for about 4 years. The building was way too small. Finally, we step up one more building in the 35 West Wacker from 1989. You'll notice it looks like a column. Base, shaft, capital on top. Clad in several different shades of dark granite. You have the stainless steel window dividers and framing and the inside reflective glass that brings out lightness on all the dark granite. That's headquarters to Leo Burnett, the advertising firm who have given us all icons like Tony the Tiger, Jolly Green Giant, Crackle and Pop. And everyone seems to kind of fall in love with that green terracotta and gold leaf clad building 2 blocks in front of us on the right that is real gold leaf on top. The Carbide and Carbon building from 1928, designed by the Burnham brothers, the sons of city planner and architect Daniel Burnham. It's rumored they got their influence from a champagne bottle, which of course is green with gold foil around top. Also realized it was designed and built during Prohibition. They were thumbing their nose at that. It is now the Hard Rock Hotel. And coming up here to our right, with the 10 pianos on the corner and the dome on top, some people may recognize this building from Transformers 3. It was originally called the Jewelers Building, completed in 1926, intended to house some large jewelry offices. And the dome on top at one time was a lounge back in the late 30s and early 40s called the Stratosphere. It's also rumored that at one time when the building was completed, there was a speakeasy in that dome, often visited by Al Capone. The Al Capone part is a rumor, but it's a rumor that I spread. Helmut Jan, a very famous architect, now uses the dome as conference room space. At one time, the building had a car elevator system designed into it. You could drive your car into the elevator, be lifted up to the floor where your office was. Very narrow, slender, neo-Gothic building here to our right. Originally was called Mather Tower, was completed back in 1928. Named for Alonzo Mather, he was a railroad baron at the turn of the last century. It was converted to a hotel 10 to 12 years ago. And wedged in there like a cat after a root canal is in fact an addition to the building on the corner, 360 North Michigan Avenue from 1923, originally the London Guarantee and Accident Building. It's been converted to a hotel called London House. And where the buildings now stand here to our right, and where Michigan Avenue and Wacker Drive come together, back in 1803 here at this site was constructed Fort Dearborn. Fort Dearborn was the westernmost outpost of the then United States. Coming up to our left, down Michigan, in between Wrigley and Tribune, you'll notice the building has a yellow onion-shaped dome on top, looking Moorish in its design. It's from 1929. Originally, the Medina Athletic Club for the Shriners. It was a men's club and hotel. They didn't fare too well because of the Great Depression, which put the building into receivership and then bankruptcy. It's now the Hotel Intercontinental. Bless you. And again, once we clear Michigan Avenue, coming up here to our left, bless you. You'll notice there's a bit of construction going on here along the river's edge. They are in the process of building a brand new flagship Apple store here to our left, designed by Foster and Partners. That's Norman Foster's firm out of London. Now personally, I think this store here is going to really have to activate this place and the space in the plaza. Like right now, the plaza is nothing more than windswept and pretty much empty. It's only active in the summer months, but now you're going to have a destination.